Hey everybody! Well, today I thought we could take a look at another classic Star Trek model kit. So this is the K-7 space station that we saw in the classic episode The Trouble with Tribbles, arguably one of the favorite episodes of Star Trek fans from the original series. This kit was originally from AMT. It looks like it still is, but I think it's reissued through round 2. So it's the same exact kit, same molds and everything, even the same artwork on the box, but they just kind of brought it back, which is really cool. I remember building this model when I was a kid, and it was hanging from the ceiling in my room for years and years. I remember this thing. And one of the coolest things about it that I always thought was neat was the little Enterprise. A little Enterprise comes with this. So it's really neat to see this kit brought back. This is a special 40th anniversary edition because this is a metal tin that it comes in. So I thought that was a really nice presentation for this thing. On the side here we see Kirk being buried in the Tribbles from that episode. Back here I think we got some new artwork. Now when it comes to painting this model, it's going to be all gray. I mean, you can see here, this looks like the actual model that they painted. It's a kind of a light gray color, not much for color as far as the whole kit goes. I think even these domes were gray as well. I'm not going to light it or anything. I'm sure you could light it if you wanted to, if you really wanted to go all out. I think there was a lot of inaccuracies with this kit, as I recall. And so when I paint it, I think I'm just going to do a light gray. And I'm going to use probably a paint pen to color these windows in to make it look like they're lit. Just make them white. I think I'll do a little bit of weathering on it. That might look pretty cool. Another really cool thing with this 40th anniversary edition is it comes with a tribble. You get a little tribble with this. I think that's really neat. All right, well, let's take a look at the parts because I'm curious to see what they look like after all these years. All right, so let's take a look inside here. And ooh, okay, that's just got the nothing on the back there. And let's take a look. Now, this should be pretty cool because I haven't built this in a long time. I mean, I was a little... Oh, look, here's the Tribble. Oh, he's got a cool color to him. Oh, that's neat. I got to check that out. I think it's so cool this came with a Tribble. Even has the same kind of fur that the originals were made of. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, we'll take a look at that in just a minute. Here is the... Oh, it's molded in white. I thought it said it was molded in gray, but maybe the 40th anniversary edition is different. It doesn't matter, I'm going to be painting this anyway. So this is the main, the center part. And as I recall, this piece is not accurate. I think it's supposed to have like a rounded edge. It sticks up a little higher. So it had a lot of inaccuracies on it, but it's the only kit that we got of it at the time, so that's fine. Oh, here's these clear windows. Now, when I was a kid and I built this, I just left these clear because I didn't really know what to do with them. I think I will paint these gray. I think they're the same color as the station, if I can recall. And looks like, I'm not sure what these are. They might be the tips of these, but they look like they're already rounded. I think these should be a little more rounded too, instead of pointy. This one looks more accurate here. So that's pretty cool. Let's see, what do we got here? Classics Reborn. Well, you know, that was the name of a company back in the day that was trying to make Lost in Space robots. Boy, that's a long-seated history of a story I'll have to tell you one day. That's pretty... Oh, Decals. Decals. You know what? Okay, so when I was building this the first time, I don't remember this having decals. I don't know. Did this have decals the first time that this came out? Maybe you guys will know and you can comment in the comments. If it did, I didn't use the decals. Actually, this is cool because I think there's a K-7 on the big dome on the side here. And I think these ones are labeled too. They're K something or other. And then this United Federation of Planets goes around the outside of the big hub here. So yeah, I'll have to figure all that out. Okay, well that's cool. Let's go back to this thing. I think these are other model kits that are available. I am really glad to see them bringing back some of these classic models that we built as kids. Even though the model kits weren't necessarily the best as far as the way they were molded and stuff, it sure brings back memories. Because I know this one is for me right now. This is really neat. Here are the outer pieces. There's going to be 3 of these, so there should be 6 of these total. Yeah, there's 6 in there. So yeah, that's all in there. Some small... Oh, there's the Enterprise. That's the saucer. That's really cool. It'll be cool to have that little Enterprise back again. This is nice. It did not come with this base the first time that this kit was issued. And it's got the nice metal post right there. Here's some instructions. I think it's a relatively simple model to put together. There's not much to it. I think there's only 28 parts to this. Looks like we're going to put the little Enterprise together first. Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I just painted it silver. Like I said, I think I just hand-painted the whole thing. I think I remember these not being the best when it came to these things being strong or sturdy. We'll have to see if that's still a problem. It probably is. Alright, so it looks like that's everything. Okay, let's take a look at that tribble. Okay, let's take a look at this tribble. Now, I was remembering a story from William Campbell. He's the one that played Captain Koloth on the original Tribbles episode. And he was talking about, after the show was done filming, he said that he was given, I think it was like 1 or 2 trash bags full of the Tribbles that they used on the show. I think there was 1 or 2 ladies that made the Tribbles. I think they made 200 or 500 of them. And I'm not sure what this blue thing is right there. And, oh, this is really neat. Look at that. Pretty soft, too. And he said that when the episode was done, they gave him, I think, the two trash bags full. And he handed these out to all the kids in the neighborhood. And little did he know that, one Tribble nowadays would be worth, thousands of dollars on the auction block. And he said if he had known then what he knows now, he would have never handed those out. He said, I could have retired a rich man. So it's pretty funny that he gave away all those Tribbles. Now, some of these have popped up for auction over the years, and I'm not really sure. The problem is, how do you authenticate it? That's the only problem. There's a couple of them that were mechanical. They had like the inside of a mechanical rabbit on the inside, and the one when Kirk is on the bridge and these Tribbles are everywhere, and you see the little one walking along the rail on the bridge. That one had a little rabbit interior inside, a mechanical rabbit. They gutted it and put this fur around it and made it look like it walked. I've seen that one pop up for auction a couple of times. Went for big bucks. But this is really neat. I really like it. It's kind of weird how it's all white underneath here like that. It's almost like they only put color on the outside. I think that's really cool. Little Tribble that comes with this kit. Soft little guy. And I have a couple of others that squeak and vibrate and make sound too. This one doesn't have the electronics, but I love it. That's very cool. Alright, so here's all the parts. I think there's only 27 parts. These are actually pretty clean as far as the way they're molded. They don't have a lot of flash on them at all, which is very nice. So that looks really good. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do is just paint a couple of coats of primer on this just to kind of get it started. And then I'm going to do the light gray. I'm not sure what color of light gray yet, but I'll have to figure that out. And then from there, I think I'll just keep on going. It's going to be a challenge to paint these little squares on here. I'm going to try to make it look like it did on the box, where there's just some of these squares are white, to make it look like there's a light coming from individual windows on there. Not sure what those little things are for, because these already have the domes on the top, so must be something else. But yeah, pretty simple kit, so I guess I'll go ahead and get started on that. Okay, so I've started painting everything now. I already put a couple of coats of primer on here, and now I've got the gray on. So the color I'm using is, this is it, TS81 Royal Light Gray. Originally I thought it was a little too dark, but the more I look at it, I think it's okay. And then I've also got the Enterprise pretty much built here. I just added a little red to the nacelles and a little copper for the main sensor dish. I love that little Enterprise. It's really cool. I painted that insignia white. And that's pretty much it. So I'm kind of starting to already assemble the main hub, I guess you could call this. So I got that going on now. And the rest of this should hopefully go together pretty decent. I'm curious to see how these things are going to connect to the middle. I remember, as I mentioned, they kind of sagged a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. I may have to super glue them or something. But anyway, at least we're getting some progress on it. Okay, so once again, this model is like the AMT original series Enterprise that I did a while back. it kind of suffers from old model kit syndrome, where a lot of these parts just don't fit all that great. And so this midsection is the main problem. Now I don't have that bottom part glued on. I was just putting it on there to hold this. But as you can see, there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of seams in there. These struts where they connect to that main thing is really bad. There's like some major gaps in there. So I filled it with some super glue gel at first, and then I put some perfect plastic putty around it. And so it's going to look a little rough, but yeah, it's all right. I usually don't care about seams in models, but in this one I kind of had to fix this up a little bit. I did try to make the seams not so bad on these, but you can still see them, unfortunately. I was using this stuff. What is this? Let me see. Let me grab it real quick. It's called Plastruct Bondine. It's a solvent, and when you it's got a brush on the lid, and when you spread it on these edges, it kind of melts the plastic and kind of makes it so you don't have to putty it so much. It's kind of cool if I could get it to focus properly. So yeah, I mean, it's not perfect. There's still some seams in here that you can see, but like I said, I normally don't worry about it. The seams are so bad on this model, it'd be hard pressed to get them looking perfect anyway. All right, well anyway, let's see, where am I at now? I think I'm gonna, I went ahead and painted the tips of these white. I think each one of these is a different color. I think it's supposed to be red, blue, and green, but I tried it and it just kind of stands out too much. So I just went ahead and just made them white so it looks like the lights are white. And then those things are actually the things that go on the ends of these. They go on that flat spot right there. So I just made those white too, so it looks like maybe they're a light. So I think I'm going to go ahead and repaint that now. And then I can probably glue these things on. And then I think I'll put the whole thing, I'll gloss coat the whole thing. And that way I can do the decals. And so we'll see how that looks when I get those on. Okay, so I've got all the decals put on. I must say these decals are not the best. Normally with round 2 decals, they go right on after about, cut them out, soak them for about a minute, and they're good to go. These ones, you have to soak them for a good long time. I mean, you gotta let them soak for about, several minutes actually. It was weird because I couldn't figure out why they wouldn't come off the backing paper. I had a heck of a time trying to get these on here. So here you can see that they got the KB. There's KC on that one, and then this one here is KA. And on the instructions, there is no guide to tell you where the decals go. There's no paint guide. There's no decal guide. You're kind of on your own. I had to look at the artwork on the box, and I had to kind of go online and see where those go, and you make sure that they go forward like that. The placement of them. There's a little. I put a little 1 right here. If I can focus in on it, there's a little 1 right there. You can put whatever number you want next to the docking bay. They give you like 2 and 3 as well right there. You can also choose whatever letter you want on the K-7. You don't have to make it all, K-7. These lines that are on here, that was another problem. They're really thin and fragile, and the first one I put on, that's the remnants of it right there in the water. As you can see, there's not much left of it. It just kind of fell apart and disintegrated when I was trying to put it on here. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I realized I had to soak them in there for a good long time. And then after that, they would come off a little bit better. So I was short one, so thankfully I had to improvise, and thankfully I had these. These are, I had an extra set of stickers when I was building the Lego camper van. They accidentally gave me 2 sets of these stickers in that set. And you'll notice there's this black strip on there, and I thought, oh, that would work. So I just measured how long the actual decal was, and then tried to cut it as the same width, and then I used that and put it on there. You can't even tell which one it is. So thankfully I had those laying around. It's always nice to have some extra stuff. So those are finally on there. Thank goodness for Walther's Solvaset. That stuff is miracle stuff. You can use it to get these decals to go on some really rough surfaces. See how the windows are all like sticking out and stuff? Well, when you put that Walther Solvaset on there, it conforms to all those crazy little bumps and stuff. So thank goodness for that. Here's the top part of this. Got the K-7 on there. Once again, I had a heck of a time with this United Federation of Planets. The whole thing was starting to fall apart. And this, I mean, the decals are really thin. So you can see United's all messed up right there, and that's because the eye just totally got broken into pieces. So I had to just use a Sharpie marker, and as you can see, I didn't do the best job. Doesn't look the best right there. And then also it broke somewhere over here, I think between Federation and of. It broke. Also the very tip of the S broke off. I thankfully managed to save that, and also the very tip of the U broke off. And as you can see, if you zoom in on it close, you can see where it's not quite right. So here I'm showing you all these imperfections on this thing. But so yeah, these decals, if you decide to build this, just know that the decals are really thin and not the best. All right, well, let's see. I think I finally got everything done with the decals. So now I'm going to put a dull coat on here, and then I'm going to start weathering this. I think I'll put some weathering on here. It definitely needs some weathering. So we'll see how that looks when it's all done. So hopefully that turns out okay. Okay, so I'm almost finished. I don't want to spoil it, the finished product yet. I just need to finish weathering these last outer pieces, these living quarters or whatever they are. You can see I did the windows. The windows are all in now. Those actually turned out pretty good. I used that white paint pen right there to do that. And then this one is done as well, and then this one over here. And then this one, I'll go ahead and show you this. This is done. I'm finished with this middle section. The weathering is really what's going to make this thing look decent because it's pretty plain for the most part. It really is. And then I'm just using pastels for that. I've used these before. I have better luck with using pastels, and I use this brush. I've shown this many times before in other videos. It's a lady's cosmetic brush, and it has this narrow tip to it, and also it's got an angle, and it's perfect for doing weathering, and it's from this company called Wet n Wild. I found these at a grocery store. They're like $2. They're really cheap, and they work perfect. So without showing too much of the model, I'm almost finished. So all I got to do is finish these outer parts, and then put a dull coat on it to lock in all the pastels. I've already done that with that. And then glue it together, and we should be good to go. So hopefully it'll turn out nice. Okay, well, here it is, all finished now, and man, you know what? I really like this model. It is way different than what I remember when I was a kid. Of course, as I mentioned, you know, I was just a little kid when I built this the first time, and all I did was paint it silver. It was like hand-painted silver, and the windows, these domes, I just left them clear. I didn't put the decals on. Like I said, I don't remember if it came with decals the first time, but if it did, I didn't put them on as a kid. So here it is now all these years later, and my modeling skills are a little bit better, and I gotta say, this thing turned out pretty cool, pretty cool. I didn't realize it could look this nice. So it was a fun model to put together, but it's not without its flaws, as I mentioned. You know, it's an old kit, and it's an old model, old molds, and you know, models back in those days really weren't, well, some of the models just weren't that good. But this one definitely had some issues with it, but I think it turned out pretty decent. Alright, so we'll go ahead and get some close-ups. You know, as I mentioned, the weathering is really kind of key to this model because it is pretty plain. When you have a model that's just all gray, you're going to have to do some kind of something to make it look a little better. I went a little heavier with the weathering than I had planned, which is always the case when I'm doing weathering. I think I've talked to other people that build models, and they say the same thing. When they start doing the weathering, it's hard to not get a little carried away with it. I really had to try to, you know, sometimes realize, oh, I gotta, you know, kind of cut back on this a little bit. But here on these little pods, I really like the way that turned out. It, you know, it kind of starts out in the middle as far as the weathering and kind of works its way out. And once again, this is all pastels. I really like the way these struts turned out. That looks really good. That was just masking those off and, you know, spreading the pastels outward. And I kind of like the way that looks. It looks kind of nifty. Same with this. Tried not to go too heavy. I went a little heavy on the bottom. I'll show you at the bottom here in just a minute. Here's what that strut looks like. And then in between here, I also did a little bit of weathering this little midsection right in here. And also this part here, I really like the way that turned out. I wanted something kind of different there, so I just kind of did that little crisscross kind of look. Just with some masking tape for that. Here's the KB. You know, like I said, I tried to get rid of those seams, but they're not the easiest things to get rid of on this model. It's solvent, is that what it was? Boy, that stuff works really good at kind of melting the plastic together. That was really cool. I forgot I had that stuff, and I happened to find it. I'm like, we can try it out on this model. Here's that middle section there, and then over here, I have that a little bit wider right there, and then there's that number 1. There's the shuttle bay area, and then over on this side, I kind of just made it like a stripe down the middle. This top part here, I really like the way that turned out. That was the first part that I weathered, so it didn't have, the weathering is a little bit better as far as that goes. You can kind of see how I did all that. Those windows, just using that paint pen, I think it's, does a good job of kind of giving the illusion of the windows lit up, and just kind of went random on it as to which ones were lit and which ones weren't. The antenna, wasn't really sure what color that was. It looked like sometimes it was black with the silver ball on the top. So that's what I went with. I think one picture I saw, it looked like it was blue. There's a lot of different ways everybody built this model, and that's usually the case when it comes to model building. It's definitely up to the builder as to what colors and choices that you use for different things on it. But, overall I think this is pretty decent. I really like this thing. Now, unfortunately, it still kind of suffers from the sagging. See how you can see how these things, this one in particular, I think sags pretty low. One of them's pretty bad. Yeah, I think it's this one. And I didn't really notice it until after I already had it glued. But, the hub that's in the middle, you kind of connect it into this disc. And there's really nothing to kind of push down on the disc to make sure these stay up. So it's not really the best design that they had in there. And then you're left with these huge gaps where this cylindrical part kind of connects to there. So like I said, I used super glue and some perfect plastic putty, and that really helped fill that in pretty good, because I didn't know if I was going to be able to do that on my original model. Once again, I just kind of left that. But yeah, it's pretty neat. All right, let me show you what the bottom of it looks like. All right, so looking on the bottom here, I kind of went a little heavy on the weathering on these things. I didn't mean to go that heavy, but it just kind of ended up doing that. So when I went and did the top parts of those, I really had to kind of realize that I had to kind of control myself when it comes to that kind of a thing. But, it's strictly a choice of how you're going to weather that. Same with, any of this area. It's like really not sure, how to handle it. Here you can see how I did all that. But, and there's the bottom of the main section there. So as I mentioned, this is not accurate in the sense that this thing right here, I think on the filming model, it kind of hangs down a little bit lower, and it's got like a round, kind of like half sphere that kind of ends this part right here. So that is definitely not accurate to the model. And then I think these tend to have more of a rounded kind of look to them, and same with these. And also the domes, I think, are a little more rounded on the top. This could have benefited from lights. I think if you wanted to light this, you most certainly could do that. You could probably black out some of these windows and have, boy, that would be kind of a chore. But you could black out the windows and kind of leave the other ones clear. You could maybe put some blinkers on here. I think those blinked in the episode. I'd have to go back and watch. And maybe even put a blinker at the top there. Make those light up. So yeah, that might look pretty cool. But I just, like I said, I don't really do lights anymore. And I don't have this all the way on here. I haven't decided if I'm going to use this stand or not. I think because I need the shelf space. Shelf space is very precious around here. So I'm thinking I might go ahead and just hang this from the ceiling. I have some other models hanging from the ceiling as well. And that way it won't take up any shelf space, and it kind of be like the way I had it when I was a kid. And I'll put the little Enterprise with it as well. Here's that little Enterprise. We'll put that over here. So there it is. I don't think this Enterprise is in scale to the space station. I mean, if you look at it, it's way too big. I think it would be too big. I'm not sure why they made it that large, but it'd be kind of cool to find a way, if you're going to use this stand, to find a way to make this kind of look like it's out here somewhere. Maybe use a wire or some clear sprue or something and glue it to the base and make it look like it's kind of orbiting out here somewhere. That'd be kind of cool. But I'll probably just hang that with some invisible wires too. That's what I did when I was a kid. But I think that'll look pretty decent, just to have it hanging off the ceiling. So there we go, the reissue of the classic K-7 space station kit from AMT and Round 2. I'm very thankful that they brought this model back because it's pretty cool. And this was the special edition that came with the metal tin box and also the tribble right here. And so it was $50. I found it on Amazon. If you want the standard version, it's $34. So it's actually a pretty affordable kit. I couldn't find it at my hobby shop. Every time I went there to look, I couldn't find it. So I just went ahead and ordered it from Amazon. But it's a fun kit to build. Just know that if you do build it, it's got some flaws in it, and it's probably going to have some issues. You guys are probably better at building this stuff than I am anyway. I kind of wish I would have been able to make that one particular pod, this one here, not sag so bad, but oh well, what are you going to do, right? It looks way better than the one I had. I wish I still had that one so we could compare it. But there we go. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'd very much appreciate it. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video, and have a good one!